What a week in sports. And we're here to recap it for you, starting right now. Everyone, and welcome back to The Extra Point. I'm your host, Kate Woynerowski, and with me tonight, I have Nick McElveen and John West.
All right, let's do it, bro.
Let's go.
All right, to get you guys started, we're going to start with some college football pick'ems. Yes, sirree, we've got a couple games lined up for you guys. So starting off, we're going to have an SEC showdown. Yes, we have Auburn at number 17, Arkansas. Guys, who do you have for this matchup?
Give me the Piglets, man. Give me the Razorbacks. I look at this game and I see Auburn, and like I say with every week with Auburn, Bo Nix, I really don't trust him, especially against a team that plays defense like Arkansas. I mean, they just got obliterated the defense by Ole Miss. And even though Arkansas has had a couple of bad games on defense where they gave up a ton of points, I just don't think that Bo Nix can do enough in the passing game to really help out the running game. So I think that they're going to be able to load the box against Tank Bigsby, and they're definitely going to be able to control this game. If Bo Nix can make a couple of plays, then it might change the game. But for right now, I think that Arkansas is going to have a big bounce back after two straight losses, which, Arkansas, they're a good football team, and people will forget that because they have such a difficult schedule. But I think that they could easily get to 8 or 9 wins, and I think this will be one of them. I'm taking the Razorbacks.
I'm as well. I'm going to take the Arkansas Razorbacks because of the fact that what I said last week is that they need to come out with more confidence when they were playing Ole Miss, and which they did. Even though they did lose the game by 1 point, they came out and played, and nobody's doubting that this Arkansas team is not any good. They literally played Georgia and then Ole Miss, a high-powered offense and a high-powered defense, in 2 straight weeks. So I'm going to have to go Arkansas. They had a very explosive offense last week. They played very good. Their quarterback played extremely well, and I look for them to continue the success.
I mean, they've lost in both ways. I mean, they lose to Georgia by a ton, and then they go back and lose literally at the very end on a failed 2-point conversion.
You never want to be comfortable with a loss. But, I mean, if I was them, I would feel somewhat good just because of the way, if you look at the difference between the Georgia game and the Ole Miss game, they came out with so much more confidence. They were so much more explosive on offense. I wish I saw it against Georgia, but you know how that is. But those guys look confident. That's a scary team right now.
Yeah, and you know what else they have in common, those two matchups? They were both away. So at least Arkansas's back at home and their home crowd, they should probably be a little bit better off, right? So I'm going to go with them as well. So moving on to an interesting matchup, we've got number 19 BYU at Baylor. Guys, does BYU bounce back from last week's loss against Boise State?
Can't say I think so. I'm going to take Baylor because I look at BYU, and like I've said in previous weeks, that they were skating by and they were winning a lot of close games, and you could look at it 2 ways. You could say, oh, well, they can win close games. They're a battered team that they can really, get down and dirty and win the game in the close games. Or you could look at it and say, they're probably not all that good, and that's the side that I tend to lean towards. So I think that Baylor being at home, I think that they'll be able to control the game, and I think that you look at it, they lost to Boise. BYU last week, and they had Jarrett Hall back at quarterback, which you thought would make a difference, but it didn't end up. And I just think that they're not as good of a football team. And Baylor, they've really surprised me because they're a 5-1 football team, and they've really found a rhythm on offense because they've really been able to run and pass the ball. And I look for them to stay balanced. I do think it'll be a close game, but I'm going to take Baylor in this one.
Ooh, this is tough. This is very tough, but I'm gonna go with Baylor as well because I did watch the Boise State game last week, and if you actually look at the stats, they look like they dominated the game for majority of it, if you just look at it. But really, in all reality, if you actually watch the game, they were behind for a large portion of the game, and they just couldn't really establish anything throughout the whole game. So they were playing catch up. So I'm gonna go with Baylor, and this Baylor team is sneaky good. They did give Oklahoma State a run for their money a couple weeks back, so give me Baylor.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Baylor too. It's interesting because I don't know if BYU was looking to Baylor after last week's game, but I'm going to have to go with Baylor at home. They definitely have an offensive identity, so I'm going to go with them. Now, moving on to an ACC showdown. We've got number 22 NC State, can't believe I'm saying that, at Boston College. Who do you have for this?
I'm going to let you go again. Give me a second.
No, it is that tough of a matchup, though. I will say that.
These are tough today. I'm not going to lie. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I wanted to do that to you guys. You know?
This is rough.
I'm going to go with the Eagles in an upset. I really think that, with Jeff Hafley and their staff, both teams are coming off a bye week, but usually bye weeks tend to favor the teams that have a better coaching staff, and I just trust Jeff Hafley and his NFL experience over somebody who like Dave Doran, who's been at NC State for years and in the biggest moments has tended to let it fall apart. I think that Jeff Hafley will do a great job in this game of preparing his team after a week of getting the ball in their playmakers' hands. I look at Zay Flowers, who I think is the best offensive player on both teams. I look for him to get the ball a lot, and because it is in Boston College, and it's not quite as cold as it gets in like November where, Boston College has really been able to upset teams in years past, I still think that it will play a factor being at home. And so I really think that, this is going to be the upset, and, I may be a little bit biased because I'm a Clemson fan. We need them to lose so we can potentially make the ACC championship game. But no, I really do think, like from an educated perspective, that Boston College can win this game.
I'm gonna go with NC State. I'm sorry, I have to because I did watch the Clemson Boston College game, and between the two, the difference between the two games that they played Clemson, NC State had more explosion offensively than Boston College did, and I think that's really going to play a huge factor now. But I'm going to have to go with NC State. This is really tough. You made it really hard on us today. But, yeah, I'm going with NC State because they look better against Clemson. I mean, I'm not saying that either one of these teams are, extremely good or anything. They're very well balanced. But this is tough. I'm going with NC State.
I like to make your lives miserable, guys.
This is tough.
I will say, though, I'm not as confident in this pick as I have been in picks past because I do feel like if Phil Jerkovich, the starting quarterback for BC, was in the game, I would feel better about it. But because they have that backup in and he really didn't perform too well against Clemson, it makes me uneasy, but I'm gonna stick to what my heart feels. And I think that they're gonna win the game.
This is tough. Again, John is absolutely right. If they had Djokovic, I would feel so much more confident in picking Boston College. So I think I'm gonna go with NC State. However, I know for a fact this game will be close and very well contested. So I'm excited for that. But I think I'm gonna go with NC State. So I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I'm gonna go with. All right. We're going to move on to a Big 12 matchup here. We've got number 12 Oklahoma State at number 25 Texas. Guys, who do you have for this matchup?
I'm going to take Texas. They lost a tough game against Oklahoma last week, and so you really have to start to think in weeks like this, you have to think how motivated and how prepared will they be for the next week, because they really put their heart in that game, and it was really surprising how big of a lead they got, and then for them to just throw it away. I really think that Sark is really going to have to preach to this team what a tough loss feels like and how you can bounce back from that. That's going to be a big part of the coaching aspect of this game. As far as Oklahoma State, I think they're a good team, but I think they're a better team at home because this is in Texas. I do think that Texas is able to eke it out in the fourth by making a few plays. Look for Bijan Robinson to make some plays in the passing game, because Oklahoma State is actually built to stop the run. They're only giving up, I think, about 94 rushing yards per game. So look for Texas to open up the running game by getting it out in the passing game. So I'm going to take Texas in a close one.
I'm going with Texas as well. Watching that game last week versus Oklahoma, they had some playmakers. Now, they couldn't quite pull it out. They were up early. Defensively, they kind of fell apart. Caleb Thompson or whatever, I forget his name.
Williams.
Caleb Williams. Kind of took over the game. But I'm gonna go with Texas. Even though they lost, I was very satisfied with what I saw from Xavier Worthy and Casey Thompson and Bijan Robinson. Like those players are game changers, and that can, quite frankly, it could be a very scary duo. Come later in the season, or scary trio. Later in the season. But I'm gonna go with Texas. They were very explosive last week, and I look for them to continue that explosion against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I have to wonder, why does Sark not start Casey Thompson in the Arkansas game, and really from the beginning of the season, because you look at him and he's playing great now.
Football, yeah.
I was really surprised. Like, I can't emphasize it enough on how big they got on Oklahoma. I know that they were struggling with Spencer Rattler, so it wasn't, like, when you think about it, it might not have been as surprising, but for me, they just have been playing great with Casey Thompson, so I'm really all aboard the Texas train. I think that Sark is doing a great job there.
Especially with the relationship that it just looks like Xavier Worthy. I don't know if it was just Oklahoma's defense, but it looks like Xavier Worthy and Casey Thompson have a bond that can possibly continue to build. And it could really be a scary quarterback receiver, duo come later on. So, if you look at the receiving yards and the passing yards, it was ridiculous. But that offense is explosive.
Yeah, and you saw it with Caleb Williams. When your teammates trust in your quarterback more, they're going to play better. I mean, it completely flipped when they, took Spencer Rattler out and put Caleb Williams in. So, and it was the same thing with Casey Thompson. So, really, confidence is a huge thing in the game of football.
Exactly. And that is also why I'm going to pick Texas as well. I think they will come back from this loss. I honestly think they were still in it in the second half with Oklahoma. Even though Oklahoma was probably the better team, they were still in the game. So I'm going to have to go with Texas in this one to bounce back. Now, we're going to move on to the game of the week, which is number 11 Kentucky and number 1 Georgia. Guys, who do you have for this one?
For my initial reaction, I even said it to the other people in our group chat about it. When Kentucky blew out LSU, I really thought, man, after watching Texas A&M, beat Alabama, I was like, maybe Kentucky could keep it close with Georgia, especially, with Stetson Bennett being their quarterback. But after looking at this game further and looking at how the two teams are built, I really have changed, and I think that it's going to be Georgia big, because I look at how Kentucky's built. They run the football. They are a really good running team, and they play stingy defense. And when I look at that, that plays right into the hands of Georgia. Georgia has one of the best rushing defense of the past maybe 5 years, and you look at it, nobody has been able to run the football against them. So I think that, Kentucky might keep it close for a quarter, maybe a half, but eventually they're just going to get out-talented, because I feel like Georgia's running game on offense will eventually catch up. I think it could be very close at the beginning, because both teams will struggle, because Kentucky will start to load the box against Stetson Bennett, which surprisingly not many people are doing right now. But I think that eventually Georgia just pulls away and starts to make more plays in the running game, and they're going to clamp down on defense. So I got Georgia big.
I was tempted to go with Kentucky, but then I had to look at where the game was. The game's in Georgia. That makes it very, very, very tough to beat a Georgia team in their home place, #1 team in the country, #1 in the SEC. It's just hard, and like you said, UK does play a style of football where they like to run the ball. They love to run the ball. I'm going to read off some stats. Chris Rodriguez, 16 for 147. Kavazi Smoke, 12 for 104. Will Levis, 11 for 75. That's a team that likes to run the football. And what does Georgia not allow teams do? Run the football. So it's going to be very, very difficult. If they want to win, they have to get more out of Will Levis. He can't throw for 14 for 17 for 145 and 3 touchdowns and expect to win the game. I mean, the touchdown to interception ratio is good, but he has to do more. It has to be more mixed in. It can't just be a run-first offense. It has to be more balanced against this Georgia team if you want to have a chance. But I'm going to have to go with Georgia because Georgia is Georgia this year, and they're playing very, very well. And Stetson Bennett actually played pretty good against Auburn last week. He threw, had some dimes out there. So I'm going to have to go with Georgia.
Well, I think it's not as much on Will Levis as a quarterback. I think he's a decent thrower of the football. I think it's more of the fact that Kentucky just doesn't have many weapons outside of, I believe his name is Wan'Dale Robinson. He's a really big threat, but outside of that, there's really nothing that really threatens this Georgia secondary who's full of elite talent like Keely Ringo and Darian Kendrick, who unfortunately left Clemson. So, I just don't think that they have enough that's going to really threaten this Georgia defense.
You might be right, but this is where coaching has to be excellent. It has to come in. Coaching has to obviously take over, and find a way to get more weapons. Find a way to get those spark plays. Whatever it is, maybe it's a trick play here and there. You have to find something to get the ball into these guys' hands because obviously, like you said, Wan'Dale Robinson is their big target. But you have to find a way. They're going to be looking for him specifically. He's obviously the #1. So you need to get your other guys that's below him. You have to get them involved somehow and in some way. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Georgia as well at home. I mean, they're just unbeatable at this point. You never know, but I'm going to go with them. All right, we're going to move on to the word game. So pick a word after I give a statement. So we're going to start with the news of the week. So in wake of controversial emails, Jon Gruden resigned from his position as head coach from the Raiders. Guys, what is your word for this?
Disappointing. It's very disappointing because it's stupid too because I'm just shocked that, him sending these emails, I'm just shocked that he, in his mind when he was going through this whole process, he didn't think that this would get caught. I don't know if it's that or whatever the case may be, but I mean, obviously, if you read the emails, there's no place in the league for that, and the league has been taking their stand strongly against all forms of LGBTQ, anti-LGBTQ, and anti-racism, and trying to include women as well into the game. So it's really no place for it. So. I mean, he has to live with the mistakes that he made. I mean, those are his mistakes. He has to live with them, and he has to live with possibly not being able to be around the game that he loved in the NFL. So, it's just very disappointing and stupid.
I don't think he'll be back at ESPN either, and he definitely won't be a coach. But I'm going to say, and it's kind of different, but Avalanche, because when I first saw the first report, and it was only one email, I was like, okay, it was one email. It was years ago. Maybe it was just a mistake, and also, maybe it wasn't that bad of a comment. Maybe he didn't mean it in the way that, people misconstrued it as. But when you start to see for the entire weekend all the emails that are as recent as 2018, it came down like an avalanche. I mean, it was too much for the Raiders to just keep him on the staff. They were going to have to fire him eventually, so they let him step down, even though that's basically firing him. But, it was so surprising that all this came out all at once. It just completely crashed down, and now the Raiders are left thinking, we were a pretty good football team. We're just 3-0, and now we may not win many more games down the line. So it sucks for the players, but man, I don't know how people still are like this in the league. How is this still getting through in the staffs? Do people not think they're going to get caught? That's my question.
I don't know. I don't quite understand the thought process on this, but what is done in the dark always finds a way to the light. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I was gonna say disappointing as well, but I guess I'll just have to say shocking. I love Jon Gruden, and then when I saw those emails, I was just I was just dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. I definitely am disappointed in him. I don't think he will be around the league at all for a while at least. So, yeah, I'll move on from that. All right, we're going to move on to Russell Wilson, who now will be missing at least a month for a ruptured tendon in his finger. This is the first time in his 10 seasons in the NFL that he is missing a game and a practice. Guys, what is your word for this?
I'm going to say again question mark, because it seems like all of the NFL stars and all these NFL players are going down with injuries, and so it just sucks to see somebody who's, as durable as it gets in Russell Wilson. Now he's going to miss a month due to a finger that he just throws the ball, gets batted. It's a routine football play, and it turns into an injury that's going to keep him out for a month. Injuries is the worst thing about sports, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's going to happen, and it just sucks to see that so many players are going down, but I mean, it's just part of the game. So
my word is buckle down. I know it's hard to say, especially when you lose a player of that magnitude in Russell Wilson, but you have to buckle down, and you have to be next man up. Like, he's going to be out for the next month, and you have to find a way to win football games. Hopefully not this coming week, though, because they play my Pittsburgh Steelers. But anyway, but after that, they have to find a way to win football games. I mean, if I was a Seahawks fan, I would be hopeful, though, with what Geno Smith did this past Thursday. So you have to buckle down and just you have to play winning football. Defensively, they have to be better than they were against the Rams to help out Geno. Start creating some turnovers. Get some easier points on the board. But it is unfortunate that he is hurt, because he is one of those durable guys. Never gets hurt. Is always at practice. But I mean, this is part of the game, and it's unlucky to have it happen. But they have to find a way to buckle down.
Hey, if they're not getting many turnovers with Jamal Adams and covers, I'm just going to tell you that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're right. That's what I'm saying. That's who I was thinking of when I said
he's not getting many turnovers unless he's sacking the quarterback.
Bobby Wagner, come on, man.
My word for this is pain. Not only just because Russell Wilson's feeling the pain, but I am for him. I first of all did not know that it was his first time ever being injured. I was shocked to hear that. So good for him, but it's too bad to see that for him. So hopefully he recovers well and he'll be fine eventually. So, all right, last word. College football last weekend.
I'm going to say GOAT, G-O-A-T. I mean, it was such a great weekend. I mean, from the beginning with Oklahoma and Texas coming right down to the wire, and then at the very same time, Ole Miss and Arkansas was right down to the wire, and then you get some amazing 3:30 and 4 o'clock games. It looked like Penn State was going to blow out Iowa. Unfortunately for my pick, it was wrong because Sean Clifford gets hurt, another athlete getting hurt, and Iowa turned it into an opportunity to come back and win the game, and all those Iowa fans storming the field. It reminded us of pre-COVID era. And then you get Texas A&M, big upset over Alabama. I mean, every single game was so good this week. I really think that in my time of watching college football, which has been maybe since I was 12 years old, this has to be the greatest weekend that I can remember of watching football. It was just insane.
My word is exciting. I know it's basic, but hey, that's what it was. When I woke up Saturday morning, I thought it was going to be a pretty good day. I was like, it feels like, sun's out. It feels like it's going to be a pretty good day. And then look at all those games. Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Iowa and Penn State, Alabama and Texas A&M. Every one of them were good. They lived up to the hype completely. And I'm ready to do it again. We're almost there. We're at Wednesday, and we're almost there for another week of college football. And hopefully it's just as exciting, if not more, as this last one. So it was very exciting to sit there and watch those games. And it did feel like a pre-COVID era, especially when you see, at the Red River showdown or shootout, like you say, seeing all the fans and, seeing people, everybody get rowdy. It was a very good experience, and I'm glad I got to see it.
If Georgia and Kentucky, if that turns into a Kentucky upset, or if Ole Miss gets upset by Tennessee, which is a potential upset spot, any of those happen, or if both of them happen, that's going to be insane. Like, this year might turn into another 2007.
Yeah, crazy. Or if NC State loses, which I would love even more.
Dave Dorn, don't let me down. Please choke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exciting is the word for me on that one. Love this weekend. Hopefully this weekend is the same. All right, we're going to move on to some baseball. So we have 5 remaining teams left in the playoffs. So, guys, who are your predictions to make the World Series from the American League? We have the Red Sox and the Astros. Who makes it?
I'm not much of a baseball guy, of course. So on this one for Red Sox and Astros, I'm going to go to Siri, heads or tails. Red Sox heads, Astros tails. So let's see. Heads or tails, Siri?
Siri ain't got no time for
Astros. So I'm going to go with the Astros because Siri gave me tails, so I'm going to go with the Astros. And we're going to try to leave the past in the past with what they did with, the sign cheating scandal. So Astros.
Siri's a smart woman. I'm going to take the Astros, too. I just think that both offenses, they're really high scoring. They get a lot of runs. I think both of them scored over 20 runs in their past playoff series. So I just think that the team with the more experience is going to win. And I think that's a trend that you can see throughout all of sports. And I think baseball is no different. So I'm going to take the Astros, who are the more experienced team.
I agree with that. Now, Nick, was that technically cheating that you used Siri to pick the Astros?
Hey, some people use Vegas to base their picks off of. So,
true.
Is this any different?
It was just like it was never, I don't know.
Hey, it's okay. Siri's a smart woman. I'm picking the Astros,
hey,
too.
I'm sorry, I'm not a baseball guy, okay?
It's okay. It's fine. All right, what do you guys think about the National League? Who comes out of that? I know we still have the Giants and Dodgers, but who do you have coming out of that?
If the Dodgers advance, then I think it'll be the Dodgers for the same reason as last week. Grandfather was a Dodgers fan and my uncle is a Dodgers fan, so that's why I'm going with him. So give me those LA Dodgers.
I'm going to go with the Dodgers, too. I just think that, again, it comes down to experience. And, it's going to be a close one, them facing the Giants. But, if they can get past them and get to the Braves, I really think that the Dodgers, with their experience, will be able to win.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with the Dodgers as well, to not only come out of the Giants, but also to beat the Braves as well. All right, now we're going to move on to our NFL pick'ems. So we're going to start with another London matchup. We've got the Miami Dolphins versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who do you have for this?
When you wake up and you find out when you find out that Kyle Pitts finally decides to go off and you have him in fantasy and you benched him, listen, that's not the way to start off a Sunday morning. And then you remember that Chick-fil-A's closed, like, man, my whole day was ruined, but we got another one. So I'm going to go with the Jags. Really both teams are just not that great. I mean, the Dolphins we expected to be better. But because of injuries, especially at the quarterback, Tua's on IR. Jacoby Brissett is questionable for this game. So I'm going to go with the Jags. I think that they'll get their first win in London. I think that because Miami also has 2 of their starting corners as questionable, and also they've been getting torched through the air all year long, I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to finally have a game where you see the stardom, you see the talent, and I think that he's going to do it. And it's going to be a tricky matchup, but I'm going to go with the Jags. And also I think, the fact that they lost to the Titans so big last week, I think that had something to do with Urban Meyer and the situation that was going down. And because of the attention being taken away by Jon Gruden, funny enough, I think that, now that attention's away from them, I think they're going to have a better week of preparation. So I'm going to go with the Jags.
I'm going to go with the Dolphins because they actually, Tua is, designated to return from IR, so there is a chance that he could play this week. And to get back to the Kyle Pitts thing, I know this is not about him, but I actually started him because I have him in fantasy too. Best decision I've ever made. But I'm gonna go with the Dolphins if Tua plays. The Dolphins really need this game if they want to make something of this season. This is a team coming in that we expected to be competing for a playoff spot, and they're not really doing a lot on offense. They're getting shut down and shut out. So I look for them to rebound this week, and I really like Brian Flores as a coach. I think he's a really good coach. So I look for them to rebound this week, and this is a great rebound game for them against the Jaguars. It's not leaning more towards the Dolphins in any way, but this is a great chance to, right the ship and, get back on track for this season. So give me the Dolphins.
You know what? I gave Kyle Pitts weeks to do something.
Me too. I just left him in there. I just had to leave him in there.
Now he's on a bye week. I can never win.
He's my best tight end. I had to leave him in.
I'm going to go with the Dolphins as well. But if the Jaguars win, they have to stay in London and play all their games there because clearly London would be good luck. All right, let's move on to a matchup of 4-1 teams. We've got the Chargers at the Ravens. Who do you have for this?
I'm going to go with the Chargers because I love what I saw from them last week. And Justin Herbert is a dog, man. I wish Pittsburgh had him. But give me the Chargers because from what I've seen from the Ravens last week this past Monday, before they eventually made that comeback against the Indianapolis Colts, is that, offensively they couldn't stop them really until later in the game. And if you let that happen against a team like the Chargers, there's not going to be a comeback. They're way too high powered for that. And the only thing that really scares me with the Chargers is that they're not really good. Again, they didn't play very good defense last week, and I think the Ravens are going to try to run the ball down their throats. But if they can buckle down and, make some plays on defense, I think that offensively they are better. And with Austin Eckler, of course, and then they have two dogs on the outside, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Couldn't get his name for a minute. So I think that they'll be good this week.
Man, I keep on going back and forth on this game. I really do. It really is both these teams, it's a contrast of styles because both defenses give up what the other offense does well. You look at the Chargers, they pass the ball well. The Ravens, they've been getting torched. You look at the Chargers defense, they give up a ton of rushing yards. I mean, Cleveland ran it right down their throats. And that's what the Ravens do. They've been one of the top rushing teams of the past few years because of Lamar Jackson and his legs. But, I'm going to go with the Chargers. Like I said last weekend, in Justin Herbert we trust. I just think he's been doing so many great things, and I think that when it comes down to it, I trust the Chargers offense to make more plays if it comes down to a shootout, which I think it will. But again, Lamar Jackson, he can't be denied. This dude is so competitive and has gotten immensely better at throwing the football and being more consistently accurate. Will it hold up? Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. They have a tough secondary for the Chargers with Asante Samuel Jr. and Derwin James and company. So I'm going to go with the Chargers, but I'm not too confident about that pick. But I got to go with my guy, Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Like, if you look at what both these teams did this past weekend, you saw the yards and stuff, and it looks like on paper, it looks like this is going to be another shootout for the Chargers, a second straight week of being in a shootout. And it just, if it does come down to that, it'll be interesting to see, those guys go head to head and, just put their best foot forward because they've both been playing amazing. Like, I hate the Ravens. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh fan, but Lamar Jackson is doing some pretty special stuff right now. So if it does come down to being another shootout, it'll be very special to watch both of these players play.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers in this one too. I think the Ravens playing on Monday night might not help them in a way, just because they're shorter on rest. So I'm gonna go with the Chargers. All right, we're going to move on to our last game, actually. We're going to go to the Cardinals at the Browns. Guys, who do you have for this?
Man, the Cardinals have been playing so well early this year. I mean, they've been playing such good complementary defense with their offense, and Kyler Murray has been an early MVP candidate, but I'm going to go with the Browns. Like, I just look at the way they can run the ball, and I look at Arizona. They don't have the best rushing defense. They really can rush the passer, but, the Browns also have a decent offensive line when it comes to pass protection. So as long as Baker Mayfield can make, enough plays, like last week, he was pretty effective against the Chargers defense. If he can do something like that, I do think that they'll be able to win this game due to it being at home and that running game with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I just think it's so effective that the Cardinals, they get handed their first L and then we're out of undefeated teams. I really think that the Browns are going to win this game.
This is a really tough one for me as well. I really want to pick the Browns because they're at home, but I'm gonna have to go with the Cardinals because I don't think that the Browns will win against good football teams like this if their coach doesn't trust Baker enough to let it rip and trust him enough down the stretch to make some of these throws. So I'm gonna have to go with the Cardinals. And looking at what Kyler Murray has done, this is he's possibly the leader for the MVP race. So I'm gonna have to go with the Cardinals, and I'll look for them to stay undefeated this week. Like you said, the Browns do have a very, very, very good running offense. So, but I just think the Cardinals will be able to maintain. They have J.J. Watt. I know Chandler Jones won't be able to play. They have some talented guys on the defensive side of the ball. So I think they'll be able to manage and pull out the W.
Hey, if Kyler wins that MVP, like I said last week, 5'9" men, he's representing. Keep going, King. Keep representing for us. We cheering you on, brother.
I'm also going to go with the Cardinals in this one, too. I think they're going to have the advantage over this one in the Browns. Even though they're at the Browns, I still got the Cardinals going undefeated. All right, that's it for us tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye, everyone.
See y'all.
Deuces.